All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI, Bahashem, Makakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and those, a great millstone who will well and teach well. Big shalom to the hopefully elect out there, pushing his word in truth and sincerity, man. Shalom. All right, shalom. All right, Akia, shalom. Right, it's your brother Amawan Hanaya back at you again. Right, another digital epistle, another edifying lesson, man. Hopefully, this will be edifying to the body and edifying to the elect. All right, quick update. Right, just got out the hospital. You know what I'm saying? Not so long ago. Esau done dropped the fucking scaffolding on my head at the plantation, man. Right, goddamn knocked my head loose, man. Right, broke my phone. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good. We still back. We back. We running. Right, just got my shit fixed. Now we back into it, man. All right, let's get into it, man. Let's go to Revelation chapter 13. All right, Revelation chapter 13. All right, we're gonna go to verse 11. Right, it says, "The beast from the earth." Right, it says, "And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." Right, now we know that the first beast before, right, was what? Rome. Right, the Roman Empire. Okay, right, the dragon. Right, the big red dragon. Right, now this Roman Empire had a deadly wound that was healed. Right, if Rome fell around 400 A.D., right around that time, to all the way to 1400s. Right, hence the 1,000 years period of the beast being bound, as per Revelation chapter 20. Right, let's see, Revelation 20 and verse 1. It says, "Satan bound." Right, Esau Edom, the Idumean, the devil, man. Right, it says, "And I saw the angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, and had a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years." Right, Esau Edom, his enterprise, right, his wicked ass kingdom has been bound. Right, right, and that angel that came down from heaven was YAHAWASHI, man. Right, the spirit of YAHAWASHI came down about to put laid hands on the sky. Right, Esau, man. Um, right, put him in the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit, as per Revelation chapter 9, we know that as what? Europe. Right, right, Europe. Right, right. It says the pit and the great chain in his hand. Right, so the Lord bound him up. Right, locked his dumb ass up. Right, he got him up out of here, man. Right. Um, it says that old serpent, the old serpent. This is the same serpent from the garden. Right, right. This is the same motherfucker who was Cain. Right, and this is the same person who was Esau Edom. Right, it's the same person. This is a reincarnation, man, a regeneration we dealing with. Right, and you think whole lands and empires aren't reborn again? Think again. Right, think again, man. Right, so we go back to Revelation chapter 13 and 11. Right, right. He says and he had two horns like a lamb, and spake, and he spake as a dragon. Right, right. Now you look at the two horns. Right, there's a saying in the world. This is the two horns of the same beast. But this is what it is, man. If you look at these empires, right, that's up right now, is running the earth, right, and NATO, EU, America, Babylon, right, you see that they have two political parties, two main rivaling political parties. You know what I'm saying? Right? Right, like in ancient Rome, they had, I believe, the houses, the Flavians and the Patricians, right? Right? Two major powerhouses trying to run over the entire land, but they will never be able to come toward each other. They're divided. They're divided against each other, right? Now, right, divided. I'm gonna type in divided. Right, give me the prophets. Right. This is Matthew 12 and 25. It says, "Yahushua knew their thoughts." It says, "And said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand." Right? Right? It says, right, Matthew 12 and 26, "And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? Right? You know what I'm saying? Right? Mark 3:24 says, if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. All right? That kingdom will never be able to rise. All right? And this is what we're seeing right here, man. We're seeing this right here in the flesh, man. Right? Live and behold. Lo and behold, man, he spake as a dragon, two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, right? And in this land where we at, Babylon, right? Right? Two horns, right? Them two horns, what represent what? The Democrats and the Republicans. The Democrats and the Republicans, man. Okay? Right? It says, and he spake as a dragon, right? Draconian laws, man. Right? He had them harsh ass laws. Harsh laws that'll just jack you up, right? Because what did they do? They came against the children of the Most High, man. They came against the children of God, man. The sons of God, man. Right? A dragon, right? This is Strong's G 1404, Dracon, right? It says a dragon, a great serpent, a name for Satan, right? Right now, let's go to the I'm gonna go to the word. I'm gonna type in this word, draconian, right? Right, Draconian laws. Right now, you look. It says Draco was an ancient Athenian lawmaker who introduced Athens' first written constitution and code of laws around 621 BC. All right, right. So this is Esau, bro. It's Esau Edom, man, setting up his judicial structure, man. All right, right. It says his laws were famous for their extreme severity, prescribing death and harsh penalties and debt like slavery for even minor offenses. Right? Slavery, man, where we at? We in Babylon the Great, right? Which is Sodom and Egypt, right? The house of bondage, man. Slavery, man. Harsh laws, man. Right? What's one of the harsh laws that America used to have, or still has written in their law books today? Then wipe it away, right? If you was to sleep with a white man, you should be lynched. If you was to walk on the street corner, right, a sidewalk, and don't step on the street when a so-called white man, an Edomite, walks by, you should be punished severely, man. Right, beaten, right, hung, lynched, right. Any small crime, right, which is not really a crime in the laws of the Most High, right, but into the eyes of Satan, right, they'll persecute you heavily, man, right, extreme severity, man, prescribing death and harsh penalties like debt slavery or even minor offenses, man. So any small type of little offense in their eyes, they're gonna bring something harsh to you, man, right? As you can see today in America, man, right, in all these lands where these Edomites dwell, man, right? Their laws are draconian, man. Draco, dragon. All right. Now let's go back to Revelation 13, and we're gonna be at 12, right? He says he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth, and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Right? The first beast was Rome. Right? The first beast was Rome, and they had a deadly wound around 410 AD to 475, around that time. That's when Rome fell, right? That was the deadly wound that was dealt to them, right? Yahawashi bound them up around that time, man. Okay? Right? Yahawashi took the Roman Empire down. He took Esau Edom's enterprise down, right? Well, and we ruled over them, man. In the Dark Ages. Why did he call it the Dark Ages? Because the dark melanated man had control over their empire now. You know what I'm saying? And bound them up, right? The Spirit of the Lord on his people bound them up, right? Right? Drove them to the Caucasus Mountains, man, for their tops, right? For their heads, right? Right? Which prescribed them a what? A deadly wound, man. Their entire economy, their wealth, their language stripped, right? Right? upon thy belly, upon thy belly, right? Let's search that up right quick. Right? Genesis 3:14, it says, the Lord Yahweh power said unto the serpent, right? Remember, this is the old serpent, the dragon, right? Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly thou shalt go. Now, you look at that. You see the Neanderthal, all right? You see the Neanderthal, he crawling on his fucking belly, man, right? In the caves, man, grunting, man, right? It says, and thou shalt eat, and thus shalt thou eat all the days of thy life, man, right? So now you go to, I believe it's Job 30, um, juniper roots, juniper roots, right? There we go. Yeah, Job 30, right? Um, Job 30:4, it says, who cut up mallows by the bushes of juniper roots for their meat. That's Esau Edom, man, right? Esau Edom all the way. Yeah, you definitely can see that, right? It says, they were driven forth from among men and cried after them as a thief. What you think happened when Rome fell, man? Right? Right? That deadly wound was rendered to them. It was rendered to them, and what they was cried after as a thief, man. They was driven forth from among men into where? The Caucasus Mountains, man. The caves, man. Mount Georgia, Russia, man. Right? And subdued around all of the bottomless pit, which is Europe. Right? It was under captivity, man. Right? Right? Yahawashi bound them up. And where did Yahawashi come from? The Israelites. So, right? Yahawashi didn't make his second return yet, so he used his people, man. He used his people to bound him up. The spirit of the Lord was on his people to bound this man up. All right? To drive him forth away. Okay? It says, they were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, and in caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Boom. Clear as day, broad as day, man. Right? If our people can't see it, it was not for them to see. Right? And these scriptures are sealed only but to the elect. So, right, Romans 11:7, the election have attained it, and the rest were blinded, man. Right? So, hey, with all that get this understanding, man. You know what I'm saying? Right? It says, verse 7, in Job 30, it says, among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles. It says nettles, they were gathered together, they were children of fools, yea, children of base men, they were viler than the earth. They were viler than the earth. Who's the most vile people on the planet Earth? The most diabolical, right? Other than two-third Jake. Esau Edom, man. This man put potions and stick it in you, and it give your baby autism, man. Right? This is the devil, man. This is Esau Edom, man. Right? Right? This so-called white man. All right? Right? Let's see. Let's go. Let's go back to Revelation chapter 13 right quick, man. Right? Now I believe it was at verse 12. Yes, yes. Right? Right? It says that he exercised all the power of the first beast before him. Right? All the power. Right? Rome, they had what? The democracy, a republic. Right? Right? I believe a dictator is a dictatorship also, and a totalitarian government. Right? With many political views. Right? And what did they live by? By the sword. Isaac blessed Esau with the sword. Okay, it says, by thy sword thou shalt live. Right? Isaac, right, the father of Jacob and Esau, right? Right, son of Abraham, right? Right? He was given this blessing to take peace from the earth. Right? That sword took peace from the earth, man. He is the red horse. This is the red horse of the four horsemen of judgment. All right, of the apocalypse, right? Of Jacob's trouble, man. Right? Um, Let's keep reading, right? It says, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed, right? They fell, right? In 410 to 475 AD and came back when it was healed, the 1400s, the Renaissance, right? The rebirth, right? Let's type in the word Renaissance right quick, man. Right? I don't know how to spell it. The Renaissance, right? Let's continue. It says the Renaissance was a period of intense cultural, artistic, political, and scientific rebirth in Europe, right? Okay, see, rebirth, right? Rebirth, political, right? So that goes into what? Government, right? Politics, political, right? Cultural, artistic. So what did they do? Iconoclasm, iconoclasm, right? You go to First Maccabees, right? First Maccabees chapter 3 and 48, right? First Maccabees 3 and 48, it says, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen sought to paint the likeness of their images. Okay? They sought to paint the likeness of their images. They painted what? First of all, the book of the law is words, right? They sought to paint the likeness of their words, their names, right? Their names, their ideologies, man. They wanted to change up what they wanted to see fit to fit them, man. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, right? They changed the name of the Lord. They changed the name of the Son, right? Right, the men, right, the angels, right? They did all that, and they painted their image, the likeness of their images also. Hint forth white Jesus, right? White angels, white God, right? White Israelites, right? They painted the likeness of their images, man, right? Right? That's completely off. That's also blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, man. It's a filthy, wicked lie, right? Right. So you go back to Job, right? Job chapter 9, verse 24, right? It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth up the faces of the judges thereof. If not wearing, who is he? Right? If this man's not the devil, if the so-called white man is not the devil, then who is? Because only the devil would do some shit like that. And he the one that did that. He the one painted the likeness of their images over the truth. Right? You know what I'm saying? Let's go back to Revelation chapter 13. Right? Verse 13, it says, he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Where do you see that from? Right? That's from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, when they drop bombs, right? They drop bombs from the Enola Gay, right? The I believe is a B-52 bomber, right? And recorded it, man. They recorded it, man, and played it on the TV screen, the television, on the radio, man, right? In the movie theater, man. You know what I'm saying? In the sight of men, right? Right? He says, and they made movies about it. Television shows, TV shows, commercials, right? You name it, man. You know what I mean? It's Esau eating the devil, man. Right? Right? He says, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. Right? His technology, right? His sorcery, his witchcraft, right? Right? Pharmakia, right? Which goes into the word pharmacy, right? These medicine, these drugs, man, they prescribing to you, man. Right? Straight pharmakia, man. It's the miracles, man, right? The technology and the technological advances, man. They got robots, right? They putting microchips in people, right? Having the paraplegic to walk. You know what I'm saying? That's a miracle, right? So-called curing cancer with these chips and these biotechnologies, right? Right? These are the miracles, man. To do in the sight of the beast, right? Right? Whose deadly wound was healed, right? So they came after the 1400s. They came back into power again, no? That was the end of the 1,000 years period of him being loosed, right? Right? Of him being bound. So lock in. Now he is loosed. Okay. It says, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, right, which had a wound by the sword and did live, man, right? An image, right? Make a way of life for it, man, right? Right? Well, ultimately, it's going to go into transhumanism, man, right? Right? To get that digital all, right? Right? The elites, the elite Edomites, the banking families, they consider what? Goy, Goyim. In the real Hebrew, the Paleo Hebrew, right? The ancient tongue that the Lord spoke, there will be Gawayim, okay? Cattle, sheeple. They call you sheeple, man. What do you do to cattle? You brand them with your insignia that you own them, that people may know that is your cattle, right? Right? So that's what they're gonna do to you, man. Right? Um, right? It says, which had the wound by the sword and did live, right? Verse 15. It says he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that it should that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. All right, they're gonna kill you if you don't worship this image of the beast, man. Right, right, right. By taking what, that digital all, man. Right, he calls of all. Right, right. I'm gonna go to Deuteronomy chapter 15. Right, Deuteronomy 15 and 16 through 17. All right, right, right. It says, and it shall be, if he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loveth thee, and thine house, because he is well with thee. Right. This is a servant. This is a slave speaking. Right. If he is good with you, he says, verse 17, then thou shalt take it all and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thy servant forever, and also unto thy maidservant thou shalt do likewise. Right? So that's what's gonna happen, man. Right? Right? That's what's gonna happen. He's gonna give you an all, and you're gonna be his servant forever. Right? Right? And that he calls of. Right? He calls of all. Right? It don't matter what you got going on, man. You either gonna get down or you gonna lay down, right? Because it said, and calls that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So they gonna want you to get up out of here, man. All right, all right. They gonna want you to get up out of here, right? If you don't bow down, right? It says, and he calls of all, right? Let's go into the word causes, right? In the linear coordinates, right? Poieo, poieo, right? Poieo. Strong's G 4160. Okay, poieo, right? It says to make, right? To be authors, to cause, to make ready, to prepare, to bear, to produce, to shoot forth, right? To think a thing, to make a thing out of something, to render one anything. All right, to render one anything, man. Okay, let's see. It says, right? So we know what causes mean, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, right? So if you a big dog or if you just a regular person, man, if you rich, right, you got all this bread, paper, right? Or if you poor, you ain't got nothing, you a homeless man, right? Right? Free, you out there walking about, or bond, right? You locked up, won't let me out. No, right? Right? It says on their foreheads, right? So look, he says, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Okay, right? A mark, that all, right? Now let's go to the word mark, right? Strong's G 5480, and it is let's see where we at. Let's see about mark. There we go. Charagma, right? Strong's G 5480, Charagma, right? It says a stamp, an imprinted mark, right? That's a physical thing. Now you go down to B2, right? It says a thing carved, sculpture, graven work. That's physical. Now go to B1, right? It says the mark branded upon horses, right? Remember, right? The heathens look at you as goyim, cattle, goyim, right? Right? So they're gonna give you a all, which is physical, right? Karagma, right? Right? Strong G 5482, a scratch or etching, all right? Right? A badge of servitude, all right? It's 1A, right? It says of the mark stamped on the forehead or on the right hand as the badge of the followers and of the anti-Hamashiach. All right, right. The badge of the anti-Mashiach. Right, Mashiach is the anointed. Ha-Mashiach. Ha is the. Mashiach is anointed. Right, right. Yeah, and these people, if they take this chip, right, which we know it is the chip for a fact, right, they will be the anti-Hamashiach. Right, you're gonna be against the Lord, man. All right, you're gonna be against the Lord, and He's gonna destroy you, man. Okay. All right. Um. Now let's see. Here is wisdom, verse 18. I'm gonna start at 17. It says that no man might buy or sell, save he has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Okay. Right. Now you ain't gonna be able to buy or sell without the Karagma. You ain't gonna be able to buy or sell without the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip and Neuralink, right? NFC chip, man. Implantable devices under your skin. All right, right. Implantable devices, man. All right, right. It says, "Here is wisdom." Right. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for is the number of man. Right, and his number is Chi Psi Stigma 603 scoring 6. Right. Now we're gonna go into that. Strong's G. Right. Here we go.
Strong's G 5516. Chi Psi Stigma.
Right. Chi Psi Stigma.
Chi Psi Stigma.
Right. You go into that is 666. Now let's go into the etymology of stigma. All right. Stigma. Stigma etymology. Right. Right. The word stigma comes from the ancient Greek word stigma, meaning to puncture, to tattoo, mark, or brand, made by a pointed instrument. Which goes into what? Right. It goes into um that pointed instrument, which karagma, the root word for karagma is karax, right? Which is that pointed instrument that shoots forth the karagma in your hand. Now you look at it as a serpent's tooth, right? The fang of a serpent, right? The fang of the serpent is the stigma, the pointed instrument, right? And the karagma, right? Which is the karax, right? Which is the stigma is the karax, right? And the karagma, which is the poison in the fang. Right, so you put that poison in you, right, from the fang, and it injects. Now you are infected, okay, with the disease, with the poison, okay, right, which will be the Karagma, man, the mark of the beast, man, the RFID microchip, man, the Neuralink, man. All right. So, hey, man, hopefully it was an edifying lesson, right? We'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, YAHAWASHI, Bahashim, Rakachwadash, the Malanas to the apostles and elders, a great millstone, Ruba and Tishwell, big shalom to the hopefully elect out there pushing his word in truth and sincerity, man. Shalom, right? Shalom.